Look around, every single person you have ever met, every face in every crowd, everyone who has ever texted you, cut you off in traffic, or broken your heart, belongs to exactly one species. Homo sapiens, us. And it feels completely normal. Obvious even. Of course, there's only one kind of human, but that, it turns out, is the strangest and loneliest thing about us. Because for almost the entire human story, you would not have been the only kind of human walking the Earth. Rewind to 300,000 years ago, and the planet was crowded with other humans. Some were shorter than a 10-year-old, some had brains even bigger than yours, some you could have fallen in love with, and some of your ancestors did exactly that. And one of them, we only met because of a single tiny finger bone. By some counts, as many as 9 different kinds of humans shared this planet at the same time. Today, there is one. So who were the others? What happened to every last one of them? And here's the part that should give you chills. They are not completely gone. You are carrying pieces of them inside you right now. Let's meet the family. So let's meet the cast. First, the famous one, the Neanderthals. They lived across Europe and Western Asia, and the cartoon version, a knuckle-dragging, grunting brute, is just wrong. Neanderthals were stocky and powerful, with brains that were, on average, even bigger than ours. They made tools, used fire, created art, cared for their sick, and buried their dead with what looks a lot like grief. They were not a failed rough draft of us. They were a different, fully human way of being human. Then there's the great survivor, Homo erectus. This is the ancestor that did it first, the first human to walk out of Africa, almost 2 million years ago, spreading all the way to Indonesia. Erectus tamed fire and survived for nearly 2 million years. We've been around for about 300,000, so before you call us the most successful human ever, remember, Homo erectus lapped us roughly 6 times. Next, a genuine mystery, Homo naledi in South Africa, with a brain only about a third the size of yours, and yet it may have carried its dead deep into a pitch-black cave on purpose. Tiny head, enormous question mark, and then it gets stranger. On the island of Flores in Indonesia, there lived a human barely 1 meter tall, about the size of a modern toddler, with a brain the size of a chimpanzee's, hunting dwarf elephants with carefully made stone tools. Scientists nicknamed them the Hobbit, real-life hobbits. No rings, sadly. They survived until maybe 50,000 years ago. And we keep finding more. In 2019, in a cave in the Philippines, researchers announced yet another tiny island human, Homo floresiensis. Picture it. At the very same moment, on the very same planet, there were tall humans and tiny humans, big-brained ones and small-brained ones. All of them people, all of them gone but us. But the strangest cousin of all gets its own chapter, the denisovans. For years, they were the greatest ghost in human history. Here's how we met them. In 2010, in a cave in Siberia, scientists found a single tiny finger bone from a young girl. It didn't match a Neanderthal, it didn't match us. So they sequenced its DNA and realized it belonged to an entirely unknown kind of human. Sit with that for a second. We discovered a whole species of human from a chip of a pinky. For over a decade, that was almost all we had. A finger, a few teeth, a piece of jaw. An entire people known from crumbs, but their DNA told an extraordinary story. The denisovans had spread across Asia, and when they met our ancestors, the two had children. And their genetic gifts are, right now, keeping people alive. High in the Himalayas, Tibetans thrive at altitudes that would leave you dizzy and gasping, thanks to a gene called EPAS1 that they inherited directly from denisovans. Around 87% of Tibetans carry it. A vanished species is the reason humans can live on the roof of the world, and people across Melanesia and Aboriginal Australia carry as much as 5 to 7% denisovan DNA. Then, in 2025, the ghost finally got a face. A massive skull from Harbin, in China, nicknamed Dragon Man, around 146,000 years old, was confirmed, using DNA pulled from the plaque on its teeth, to be a denisovan, the first denisovan skull ever identified, and it held a brain as large as ours, in a head nearly a foot long. We spent 15 years chasing a ghost, and it turned out to be sitting in a museum the entire time. The most mysterious human cousin we have finally has a face, and it looked nothing like a brute. So here's the haunting question. If the world was once full of humans, why is there only one kind left? Why us? The honest answer is that we don't fully know, but there are clues. Some of it was almost certainly competition. Different humans wanted the same animals, the same caves, the same sheltered valleys. When two species need the exact same dinner, one of them usually loses. Some of it was climate. The Ice Age threw brutal swings at everyone, and small scattered populations are terrifyingly fragile. But here is the twist that rewrites the whole story. We did not only replace the others, we absorbed them. When our ancestors met Neanderthals and denisovans, they didn't just compete and they didn't just fight. They fell in love, they had children, and the proof is hiding inside you. If your roots trace anywhere outside Africa, you're walking around with roughly 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA right now. It helps shape your immune system, your skin, even how you sleep and how you feel pain. Now, you might shrug and say, okay, but 2% is basically nothing. Except 2% isn't nothing. It means a Neanderthal is, quite literally, one of your direct ancestors. A different species of human is in your family tree, so the others didn't simply vanish into thin air. Some of them were quietly folded into us, and they never left. And maybe that's the real secret. Maybe we didn't win because we were the smartest or the strongest. Maybe we won because we were the most connected, the humans who traded, talked, traveled, and pulled strangers into the family, and who outlasted everyone else just long enough to carry their blood forward. We love to tell our story as if we were always meant to stand alone at the top, the one true human, the inevitable winner of some grand contest. But for 99% of the human journey, human was never a single thing. It was a crowd, a whole forest of branches, tall ones and tiny ones, big-brained ghosts and island hobbits, all of them making tools, feeling fear, burying their dead, and looking up at the very same stars you do. We are not the whole tree. We are the one small twig still alive, draped in the DNA of cousins we will never get to meet. So the next time you hear someone use Neanderthal as an insult, you can quietly smile, because somewhere in their cells, and in yours, that Neanderthal is family. And we are the last humans standing for one strange and beautiful reason. Long ago, when the world was full of other people, we were the ones who refused to stay strangers. This is Sketchient. Subscribe and stay curious about where we came from.